and welcome for all of you who are tuned in. You're watching TMH as we present you our daily English news. Our headlines for today: the Ethiopians are on an ongoing drone attacks on civilians, are still aiming at terrorizing the people of Tigray. Tigray Inter-Religious Council office calls on the international community to condemn drone bombings of civilians and infrastructures, and the EU says 2 drone airstrikes that hit Mekelle city in most recent days put fragile prospects for peace in extreme jeopardy. As we move on to our main updates, member of Tigray Central Command says Ethiopian government's ongoing drone attacks on its civilians are aimed at terrorizing the people of Tigray in general. Briefing the media today, member of Tigray Central Command, Getachew Reda, called the drone attacks indiscriminate and asked to why the Ethiopian government has not responded to the government of Tigray's call for a mutually agreed cessation of hostilities agreement. He had this to say.
One reason could be their assumption that we would not accept the African Union as a mediator and use that as an excuse to remain adamant in their rejection of peace talks. When we announced that we would accept talks under AU's auspice, they have no other argument. So, now they're busy looking for other pretexts. Secondly, they seem to have dawned on them that negotiations would be inevitable. They want to come to the table with the upper hand in the event of such a negotiation happening. They may be thinking of making military victories as a fait accompli or making some inroads into other position and secure a position of strength for talks.
ምን ያክል ማለቅ አለበት ወደዚህ ይቀበሏል ወዳሉ የሰላም ነገር እንዲመጣ ብርግጠኞች መሆን አንችልም።
Getachew Reda also disclosed that over 90,000 of Abiy Ahmed's forces were put out of action in 9 square kilometer theater of operation in Tzelemoy area in western Tigray. He added that Abiy and Isaias don't care a hoot if hundreds of thousands have perished in pursuit of their genocidal objectives. How many more soldiers and commanders have to be killed before Abiy Ahmed realizes that his quest for a stronger position cannot be achieved, he wondered. Getachew Reda noted that if he can get his way, Isaias Afwerki will stop at nothing before he presides over the disintegration of Ethiopia as we know it to be. 2 more patients have been reported to have died after the drone attacks that took place yesterday, increasing the death toll from the Ethiopian airstrikes on Tigray's capital to a total of 12. Chief Executive Director of Mekelle's Eider Hospital, Kebron Gebreselassie, said 2 of those who were heavily injured by the drone attacks yesterday have died today. The shortage of medicine and medical equipment due to the ongoing siege on Tigray and its region has made it extremely difficult to treat these patients and save their lives as well. Tigray Inter-Religious Council office has condemned the drone attacks on civilians and called on the international community to condemn the genocidal campaign being conducted against the people of Tigray through drone attacks and using famine as a weapon of war. It particularly denounced the drone bombing of the TV station that was serving the siege-starved people of Tigray to exchange life-saving information in the face of blockade of services like internet, telecommunications, electricity, banking, and so on and so forth. The EU says 2 drone strikes that hit Mekelle city in the most recent days has put fragile prospects for peace in jeopardy. The EU said this in a statement that the announcement by the regional government of Tigray of its readiness to abide by an immediate cessation of hostilities and commitment to an AU-led peace process in line with similar past commitments by the federal Ethiopian government should have opened an opportunity to end these hostilities, reach a negotiated permanent ceasefire, and agree and engage in direct talks. However, the EU said it regrets that the 2 drone airstrikes that hit Mekelle city this week endanger once again the very fragile hope for peace within Ethiopia. It also added that the blockade of humanitarian aid since the renewed fighting adds to the already huge, serious, and costly toll on civilian life, economy, and development of the country as whole. The role of Eritrea continues to impede ongoing efforts towards peace in Ethiopia, as the EU stressed in the statement above. It noted that the peace talks are the only way forward and that no time should be lost in making the new Ethiopian year a peaceful one. The EU encouraged both conflict parties to immediately seize these opportunities, end these hostilities, and reach a negotiated permanent ceasefire agreement. The EU also reiterated its support that the AU-led process and its readiness to actively engage in it in coordination with the international partners. René Lefort described his first international reaction to the bombings that took place in Mekelle as quote-unquote very soft. He wrote on his Twitter reacting to the statement that the EU's regret falls short of denouncing the bombings. Still, it is nothing worthy of the stakes. Addis is nothing concrete to put real pressure on Abiy Ahmed, and still nothing from the main mediator within the US. In short, nothing, at least publicly, which would really put Abiy to compromise has been done, he noted. As we move on to our final update for today, analysts say the Tigray leadership wants a public commitment from the federal government to meet what they say in its international legal obligations. Senior Ethiopian analyst William Davidson made a remark in an interview with Al Jazeera. Let's take a listen.
So, unfettered aid access to Tigray, the restoration of services, the exit of all foreign forces, including Eritrea's, obviously, and the restoration of Tigray's pre-war borders, which means the neighboring Amhara region giving up on its control of Western Tigray that it's taken during the war. That is the extent of the challenges, even to get a recommitment to a truce, so to stop the current fighting, and then to convene the beginning of formal negotiations. Other issues that would emerge during a peace process would be arranging a permanent ceasefire. That would mean deciding what to do with the Tigray forces that have been built up during this war to defend Tigray and obviously marched out of Tigray even to threaten the federal government. There was a Tigrayan demand for a referendum on self-determination with an option including secession from the Ethiopian Federation. There were the issues of accountability and reconstruction as a result of the damage and the atrocities committed during the war. So yes, there are all sorts of challenges in addition to the challenge that faces us now of just stopping the latest round of fighting.
While the Tigray leadership wants a public commitment from the Ethiopian government to meet what they say in these international legal obligations, the Eritrean regime has ordered civilian workers 55 years of age and under to march to the war front. According to Asmara reporter, sources that say that Isaias's regime is even mobilizing diabetic and retired veterans. Asmara reporter added that the Eritrean regime has already exhausted young men and women of Eritrea, that so many are perishing to help support the failed state of Ethiopia as whole. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.